Hello and welcome to another Sprues and Brews video. Today we're having a look at the brand new releases for the Tyranids for Warhammer 40,000. So first of all I want to say a massive thanks to Games Workshop for sending us these releases early and for free to have a look at, unbox and check out on the site. In this video what we'll be doing is checking out the kits, seeing what comes in them, how they go together, and then towards the end of the video we'll have these built and hopefully some of these painted too, so we can show what they look like in the flesh. And we're going to do a few size comparisons as well, see how the Lictor looks compared to the classic ones. In fact, for a lot of these models we'll kind of show off the older incarnations and against the new ones and see how they stack up. Particularly interested in checking out the Norn Emissary as well, which is the big centerpiece kit for this release. But yeah, the Tyranids had got a lot of love in the Leviathan box with a lot of updated kits, and with this we've got quite a few new kits added. Now in addition to those that you can see here, I think there is also a multi-part kit for the Hormagaunts. Haven't got that in this release wave. I don't know if it comes out at the same time. I assume it does so. But what is here is really cool. A lot of old models that have been updated, such as the Hormagaunts and the Genestealers. Their models were a little bit dated and are getting brought up to date with these new kits, which will be really cool to see. Previously in resin we had the Lictor and Deathleaper. Both of those get brand new plastic kits. We've got a new form of Lictor with the Neurolictor, which is like a psychic Lictor. And then the Biovore and Pyrovore gets a dual kit as well, which again replaces the old kit and gives it a brand new aesthetic. And then finally we have got the kind of new centerpiece kit, the Norn Emissary, which also builds a alternate build, the Norn Assimilator. So yeah, we'll have a look through all these, see what's in them, check them out, see how they go together. Hopefully some of these are fairly straightforward to build. Obviously some of the bigger ones might be a bit more complex, and when we get to the second half of the video, where we're showing off the painted miniatures, I'll talk a little bit about how they went together, because some of them might be a little tricky, like the Deathleaper. And I'll also talk about their rules as well, because today the new Edition Codex is also up for pre-order. I've got a full written post over on spruesandbrews.com if you do want to check that out. And like I say, in the second half of the video I'll be talking about the rules for these as well. For the existing stuff, one thing that I just want to put out here straight away, the profiles in the codex for the stuff that was in the kind of index are the same. There might be the odd keyword added to synergize with some of the new abilities and stuff, but otherwise the profiles are the same. So if you're expecting the codexes to massively rehash what was in the indexes, that's not the case. The existing profiles stay, and then for the new models we've got some new profiles in there. But yeah, without further ado, should we crack some of these open? So I think we've got to start off with the big girl herself, the Norn Emissary. So if we move these out of the way, and we will have a look at the Norn Emissary. So like I said earlier, this is the big centerpiece model for the Tyranids, and it looks really cool. Now I don't really know how big this is scale wise until we've built it up. There's been some images of it towering over a Wraith Lord, but Wraith Lords are quite small now. So yeah, I'm interested to see how big this thing is in the flesh. I mean, there's a scale image of it, so maybe Angron size without the wings perhaps. I think it will stand a fair bit bigger than a Hive Tyrant, but not quite Imperial Knight size. But again, at the end of the video we'll have a look at this to see how it stacks up in scale to some of those other more recent models. But yeah, really cool kit. So it builds the Norn Emissary, which is a big psychic bug, really cool looking thing. Or you've got the Norn Assimilator, which is somewhat of an anti-tank specialist. It's got harpoons that it fires out, and it that basically betters its charge distance, and it can smash things in the face. I'm going to do like a Vanguard force for my Tyranids, and as far as big gribblies go, I think the Assimilator kind of works well with that aesthetic, with lots of lictors and stuff in there. So yeah, let's open this one up and see what we get inside. So we pop the kit open. We'll look at the instructions in a minute, but you see you get a single frame and a double frame, and then base there. So not the biggest kit in the world, and it's certainly not going to be anything like massive in the scale of a knight, but it's certainly one of the bigger Tyranid creatures that we've got. There's a really nice sculpted base with this, which will look really cool. All these new Tyranids, I can see people doing a lot of cool stuff for Golden Demon. We've got the harpoons there off the Annihilator. In fact, these barbed things are off the Annihilator too. Now I do wonder if we get a setup similar to the Imperial Knights where they could potentially add an additional frame to create a new bioform. Maybe. Would be interesting to see. If we look onto the main frame though, this is where we get the bulk of the creature. And it's not got that many parts. I don't think this one's going to be too difficult to build. It's got some cool detail though. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to painting this one up. So I think I'm going to build it as the Norn Assimilator for this one, just because I think it looks cool. Let's face it, I'm probably going to pick up a Norn Emissary at some point to go alongside it. So yeah, let's have a quick look at the instructions to see how this thing goes together. And for the majority of it, I assume that you're going to be using similar build, and there's just a few different things that are different across them. So you've got that big kind of crest on the back of the Norn Emissary, obviously you haven't got it on this one, and you've got the shorter kind of claw, so there are some nice aesthetic differences between the two of them. But yeah, this looks like it should be a fairly simple kit to build. Obviously take your time if you've not built any big plastic kits before, but yeah, this looks like it's going to be good fun. I really like the look of this. I am torn on which one to build out the two, but I think it's got to be the Assimilator for me. It looks like we do have some variances in the building instructions too, probably due to the fact that you've got some different panels on there, a slightly different pose to it maybe. But yeah, I think that looks really cool. Very gribbly and Vanguard-like. Yeah, that's a really nice model. So yeah, looking forward to seeing that built up in the flesh. Obviously we get the kind of the mini rules profiles on the back, but in the second half of the video I'll talk about kind of stats wise how both of these models stack up in the new edition of the game. So that is the Norn Emissary / Norn Assimilator. Continuing with the theme of new models, we've also got the Neurolictor, which is a type of psychic lictor. And again, let's open this up and see what we get inside. So, looks like it's just a single frame. Looks like it's on the same base that the Lictors were on. And again, just a single kind of like clam pack style frame here. So not too difficult to build, I don't think, this one. It's got a lot of whippy kind of like tentacles and gribbly bits on this one. But yeah, it should be fairly straightforward to put together. So yeah, that is the Neurolictor. Again, we'll have a look at the instructions and see how this thing does go together, but again, it's not got that many parts, maybe a few little fiddly bits here and there, but it should be a fairly straightforward build. I don't think there's any room for different customization options in this one. The Lictor, I do believe, is able to be built in a number of different poses, but the Neurolictor not so much. So if you are kind of particular about having you know, unique looking creatures in your Tyranid force, then obviously you might want to convert this one if you do want multiples in your army. And again, rules wise, we'll be talking about this in the second half of the video. So that is the new Neurolictor. So I think it makes sense that we have a look at the Lictor itself. Now the Lictor was a classic model. It was originally in metal back in 2nd edition when I started the game, and was one of my all-time favourite kits. It got redone over the years in Finecast, and now it's got a multi-part plastic kit, and it looks like it does have a number of different build options. So if you do have multiple Lictors in your force, they'll have different poses too, which is really cool. So let's again open this one up and have a look what is in here. So if we take that out there and move the instructions to one side for now, again we've got the same size base as the Neurolictor, and then a big double frame with all your options for the creature. So again, if you have a look at the instructions in a little bit, there's definitely two different ways of posing it, but there might be enough bits here for kit bashers to kind of go crazy and create, you know, multiple different looking ones if you wanted 3 Lictors in your force maybe, which again I'm doing a bit of a Vanguard force, so that is probably something that I'll do, because yeah, that appeals to me. But yeah, really nice kit. Smaller pieces maybe than the other kits that we've looked at so far, so it might be one that you want to take your time with. But yeah, really nice. So again, like with the last one, we'll have a quick look at the instructions, and it seems that you've actually got 3 different variations of pose that you can build. So yeah, if you do want a trio of Lictors, they will all have different poses, which is amazing. So yeah, I think I'm definitely going to order another 2 of these when they're released, because I think a Vanguard force with Lictors and lots of Von Rein's Leapers and Deathleaper and all sorts of stuff like that in there, it'd look really cool thematically. So yeah, it looks like we've got some twist to how the body can go together too, which is nice. So actually you could probably do quite a few different variations of pose, some of them more subtle variations in pose, but it does mean that yeah, you can go all out with a full kind of Lictor force if that's something you want to do. So really nice flexible kit. I do like that they've done that. So yeah, really looking forward to building this one up. So we'll pop that out of the way. And while we're on the theme of Lictors, let's have a look at the new Deathleaper, because this is another kit that I've been very much looking forward to. This is essentially a named character Lictor, and he looks really cool with his, he's kind of got like a cloak which is part of his like skin. I suspect that's some kind of chameleonic bioform thing that it's grown, where it can just predator style fade into the background. And again, some really nice detail on the face of this. Obviously we'll look at the sprues in a bit, but he looks so cool, or she potentially. So yeah, open it up and have a look. They have done an ace job with all these new Tyranid creatures. Oh, we've got a couple of sprues on this one. So we get a bigger base than the other ones, and then you've got 3 kind of small frames to build this up. So the first one that I can see straight away has got a lot of the kind of like basing that he stood on. Looks really cool. Yeah. These new Tyranid kits are going to be a dream to build up. They're so fun to look at. Yeah, so that's cool. And then the main frame itself has got the body assembly again. Like with the Lictors, he's quite spindly, and there's a lot of small parts to him, but he should be good fun to paint up. I'm going to paint these up in Leviathan colours, so matching the box art. I'm going to use Duncan Rhodes' scheme and 2 thin coats paints to do these, which hopefully I should have enough time to get these painted for the video to go out. If not, there will at least be some of these painted at the end of the video, and then over on the website in the coming weeks I'll show my continuing progress on them. And again, as ever, we'll have a look at the instructions for this too. So yeah, this one looks like a little bit fiddly. Obviously there's lots of little parts there for the Deathleaper, but again, take your time, there shouldn't be any issues. What I would say is just be careful when snipping things like this off the frame, because you don't want to snap them and ruin the model. So just take your time on this one, especially with this being a nice kind of like centerpiece. In the Vanguard Invasion Force in the Codex, which basically lets you build an army around all your Von Rein's Leapers, Lictors, Genestealers, all the winged stuff, so harpies, gargoyles. You can do a really nice kind of thematic force of all the first wave stuff that arrives in the first couple of days. So the stuff that's infiltrated the planet, plus the stuff that's kind of starting to blot out the sun before the main Tyranid invasion arrives. And in that detachment, you're allowed to take Deathleaper as your general, so you can do a really nice thematic force. And again, while the Norn Emissary doesn't, the Norn Assimilator, sorry, doesn't have the right keywords to get all the benefits from that detachment, I think he still looks thematically cool for the army with the kind of the kind of harpoon launchers and stuff. It has a lot of the vibes of the Lictor in there. So yeah, this guy looks cool. I do wonder if it's going to be easy to leave him separate to the base. Again, in the second half of the video I'll talk a little bit about how I build these and the options for doing them. But yeah, he looks really, really cool. So that is the Deathleaper. We'll put those to one side and we'll have a look at the next new kit, which is the Biovore. So the Biovores had quite the glow up, getting a new plastic kit that is a dual kit with the Pyrovore. And again, existing Tyranid fans will know that this has had a few incarnations over the years. The most recent one was drawing from the lore in the 3rd edition book, I think it was, which kind of discussed that Tyranids would take on their appearance of host creatures, and that Biovores had like an orcish background to them. That seems to have gone now, and it's now a more kind of like might looking thing, which is cool. I really liked the very first metal Biovore back from 2nd edition. I was never a fan of the more recent one. This is very alien and different and fits with the rest of the Tyranid army, so I really quite like that. I think it looks really fun. So again, we'll open this one up and have a look what's inside. Again, it's a nice dual kit, and you do get the mines in there as well. So again, fair size base on this one, much bigger than the current Biovore. Let's move them to one side along with the instructions. We'll have a quick look at the sprues, which again is split over 3 small frames. We'll look at the little one, which seems to have the parts for the actual spore mines and the Pyrovore cannon, I believe, on that one. Or maybe that's the Biovore. Yeah, I think that's the Biovore weapons on there. I don't know if there's any potential for magnetising this or having these weapons swappable. As we go through the process of building these, I'll discuss that at the end of the video. We then have the main frame itself, which again, he looks really, really cool. Really brings the Biovore more into the aesthetic of the rest of the Tyranids, and it'll be fun to paint this up in Leviathan colours, because let's face it, they're the poster swarm of this edition. So yeah, very, very nice kit. On the instruction point of view, let's see if we've got any sign of this being swappable. I don't know if it will be. It looks like we've got a few different poses to the creature. And obviously the main weapon on the back. I don't know if this will be easy to magnetise. If there aren't any shared parts on the guns, it might be possible to stick a magnet or something on the back of it. But I think the actual build of the creature itself is different across both of the... yeah, it's quite different at the back on the Pyrovore. So I think that you might have struggled to magnetise these. But it's definitely worth a shot. I've seen a lot of people like to maximise dual build kits. Unfortunately on this one, I don't think that's really going to be possible, but it's something that we can look at, isn't it? So again, once I've built it, I'll be able to feedback a bit more on that. But very, very nice kit, and yeah, I can't wait to see it built up. So we've still got a couple of kits left. Genestealers are one of the kind of oldest kits in the current Tyranid range, so it's good to see them replaced with a brand new kit. Again, Tyranids have had multiple different plastic kits over the years, and now they've got this new one, which isn't a reinvention of the wheel. It just basically modernises them. Those current plastic Genestealers are not the most fun. I actually prefer some of the older Space Hulk ones. It's a bit of a shame that they didn't go that route. You've got little elements of Genestealers like hopping over bits of scenery. I kind of liked the alien vibe of those Space Hulk Tyranids kind of crawling down gantries and stuff. But yeah, let's have a look inside. I think I'm going to paint them in the classic Tyranid colours as well. I don't really like Genestealers in that Leviathan scheme. I always thought that Genestealers felt very kind of distinct in their own thing. So yeah, I'll paint it in that scheme to match my Genestealer cult. So let's open this up and have a look. We get a lot of frames in here. Looks like it's a big chunky kit. So we'll put them to one side. We've got 32mm bases. Now I know Genestealers have flip-flopped between a few different bases in the past, so if you have got an existing army that may matter to you. we've got a whole sprue filled with arms. Now I don't know at the minute until I've read the instructions whether these can go on any body, or I suspect they might be specific bodies that they plug into. A lot of the newer kits from Games Workshop work that way because you can make much more dynamic models without having to worry about them being, you know, fully superposable. So yeah, lots of arms. We also have a sprue of legs and heads. Now we've got a lot of these tentacled Yarmagul Genestealer heads, I believe they were called. And if I remember rightly, there's enough in here on one kit to make all 10 of them have tentacle faces, which is what I'm probably going to do for these, to differentiate them from my Genestealer Cult Genestealers. These are going to be much older, part of the Hive fleet that's coming along for invasions. But yeah, they look really cool. They've crammed a lot onto these sprues. They're quite jam-packed. And then we've got the body itself, again with more heads, and again you've got the option for the classic style Genestealer head or the tentacled heads, which I really like. And then the bodies are separate, so it looks like the legs and arms will clip into those, which should make them a lot more dynamic than the current Genestealers that are available. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing how these go together, because I think Genestealers again are one of those iconic Tyranid kits. And yeah, I want to see how these look painted up in that classic kind of purple scheme, because I think that look cool. So that is the Genestealers. I'll have a quick look at the instructions to see if there are any specific kind of builds. And looking at this, it looks like there are certain arms that go with certain bodies. They might be more customizable, I don't know until I've had a play with the kit. But like I say, I think a lot of the newer kits, those certain arm and leg combinations are needed there, and it looks like you get a lot of variety in the poses of them anyway, which is cool. And again, you do have enough heads to outfit them with the classic heads or the tentacled heads, whichever you prefer. Like I say, I'm going to go for classic purple scheme but with the tentacled heads to make them look quite well, alien, I suppose. So yeah, looking forward to building and painting those guys. And then we have got one more kit to look at before we have a look at the assembled models, and that is the Hormagaunts. And again, the Hormagaunts are another old kit that I was never really a fan of the plastic one. I really liked those classic metal Hormagaunts. They looked more alien, they looked more kind of sleek and dangerous. These, they're more like the current plastic ones but updated, in the same way that the Termagants, again, like with the Genestealers, wasn't reinventing the wheel, it was just an update of that old kit. It looks like we've got much the same here, and again you get a base of rippers in here too, so that you can reinforce your rippers that you've got from the Leviathan box, because obviously that box you get 2 bases of rippers, and I think you need 3 in a squad. So if you do pick up this box and you've got the existing Leviathan box, you'll be able to put all those rippers together to have a legal unit, so that's pretty handy. So yeah, let's have a look at how these guys look too. Just 2 frames in this one. We've got, looks like they are on 28 or 32mm bases. I think they're 28mm bases for the Hormagaunts, so slightly bigger bases than the one currently. And again, let's have a look at these, and you know what? They are really nice looking at the spruce there. Definitely a big upgrade from the previous plastic ones, and you know what? There are nods to the old metal ones in here too. I'd like to see more of this kind of stabby dagger claws like the old ones had, but yeah, I think these are going to look really good as well. Look at the other frame too. And again, it looks like we've got, is that 2 duplicate frames? No, 2 different frames on these. So all 10 of your Hormagaunts should look different, which is a nice touch. I wasn't sure if it was going to be 2 duplicated frames, but no, it's not the case. So yeah, they're really cool. I'm looking forward to building them. And again, before we jump off to the future and have a look at the finished models, we'll have a look at the assembly instructions. And yeah, there's A lot of the kind of poses are standing up like the old ones, which is a really nice touch. At the end of the video, what I'll do is show kind of Hormagaunts through the years, because some of these poses are very reminiscent of some of those old metal Hormagaunts, which is cool. And again, it looks like there's specific heads and arms for each Tyranid, which is not a massive issue. Yeah, these look really fun. They should be good fun to paint up. So yeah, that is a look at all of the kits. What we're going to do now is jump to the future, where we've got these built and hopefully a lot of these painted to show what they look like. So let's check out what these miniatures look like in the flesh. Now, unfortunately, ran out of time to get these finished painted. I've started painting them up, and what we'll do is share our progress with them over on the site. Unfortunately, didn't quite have enough time to get them done for the video, but I want to show you what they looked like and do some size comparisons as well. So let's start with the Lictor. Now, this is one of my favourite kits from this wave, more so than Deathleaper really, because it is so very customisable. There's 3 like main different body types that you can build it with, and each of them you can have the head pointing to the left or right as well. So you've got a lot of variety in what these look if you have got 3 of them in your army, which is really, really cool. Now, if we grab the previous one, he is quite a bit taller than him. Yeah, massively so actually. But if you actually look at the original metal Lictor, this guy's actually got more kind of in common with that. It's a similar size and it's got a similar kind of vibe to it. Obviously, the old metal model doesn't have nearly as much detail as this guy, but there's definitely shared DNA there, which I think is really cool. Now, what I will say from a rules and codex point of view, majority, well, in fact all these kits, most of the profiles in the book are exactly the same as in the index. I did notice that Deathleaper had a slightly better save, but that was the only difference that I spotted. So people worried about the codex coming out and, you know, replacing all those stats. That is not the case. That all the rules, the core rules for the Tyranids are the same. It just adds some additional detachments that you can pick from. So there's a stealthy one where you can take all your Lictors and Von Ryan's Leapers. You've got a monster based one. You've got a horde based one. One that revolves around healing up your creatures with your harvester units. And the final one is a psychic based one. So if you check out spruesandbrews.com, I do have a full deep dive into the codex, and I've got some more pictures of these models on there as well. But yeah, let's have a look at some of the other kits. So that is the Lictor. We've also got the Neurolictor. Now, this is one that when I saw the original pictures I wasn't too enamoured with, but having built the model, I've got to say I actually really like it. It looks more serpentine on the original pictures, you know, with the tail kind of whipping around it. But it actually looks like a more kind of graceful psychic Lictor, which I really, really like. Again, from a size point of view, he stands a little bit shorter, only about the same size actually as the standard Lictor. This guy's quite interesting from a rules point of view. It can infiltrate as you'd expect. It's got lone operative as well, so you can't shoot it if you're outside of 12 inches of it. Its main kind of ability that it's got, if it's within 12 inches of a unit, and they're battle shocked, that unit is -1 to hit, and it is +1 for your Tyranids to wound it, which is really good. Now, giving it a bit of an advantage with that, in the command phase, it can pick a unit within 12 inches and force them to make a battle shock check. And it's also got the Shadow of the Warp rule as well, so it can trigger that ability as well if you want to force some battle shock on your opponent as well. But I think a couple of these to take advantage of battle shocked units and then give the rest of your army quite a considerable buff, I think it'd be a really kind of cool thing to add to your list, especially if you go in the Vanguard force. So in the Codex, the Vanguard detachment basically lets all your Vanguard organisms, so that's all the kind of Von Ryan's Leapers, these, the Lictor, Genestealers, everything with wings, lets them fall back and, lets all those units run and charge, and lets any unit in your army fall back and charge. So really, really cool force. It also lets Deathleaper be your warlord too. So on that note, let's have a look at Deathleaper. Unfortunately, he's a bit earlier in the painting steps, but you'll get an idea of what he looks like. This was a bit of a fiddly model to put together. and I'm in two minds to whether I should have left him separate to the base to make the base a bit easier to build. He looks absolutely beautiful though, and again if we stand him up next to a normal Lictor, he is substantially larger. In fact, if we take like a Hive Tyrant, he's a pretty chunky boy. So yeah, really nice model. Again, like I say, rules for this has not changed. He's got a slightly better save, but that's it. All his kind of main abilities work the same, and he looks so cool. Really looking forward to finishing this one off. I've just got some early stages of getting that skin colour down on them. But yeah, really nice model. What's also a nice model is the new Hormagaunts. Now these, I was impressed with, to be fair. I wasn't a fan of the old plastic Hormagaunts, the ones that came just before this kit, but I was a massive fan of the old metal Hormagaunts from the original Tyranid release. And I've got to say again, these, while they do look different and they've got some of it, you know, the different design elements that are in more recent Tyranids, they do still harken back to those though. You know, the limbs are not quite as blade-like, but I think they still stand up. I think these are a bit more graceful than the previous plastic ones as well. Sadly I haven't got one of the old plastic ones to show what they look like, but yeah, pretty happy with this, and really nice detail, and they take contrast really well for the skin as well, much like the Termagants out of the Leviathan box, so really impressed with that. While we're looking at the infantry as well, have a quick look at the new Genestealer. Again, I've not had a chance to paint him up, but I have built him with that cool tentacled head. And yeah, not a massive departure from the previous model, but again, if you look them side by side, we've got a bit more bulk to the new Tyranids. They're a bit more dynamic, you know, they're a bit more imposing, and obviously they're on a bigger base too. And again, if we go back even further than that and look at the very first plastic Tyranids from Space Hulk, they are quite massive compared to them. So yeah, really nice model. So that is the Genestealer. We've also got the Biovore and the Spore Mines. Now, this is a really cool kit. Obviously it's quite a big departure from the previous Biovores. They went for the old kind of like the old lore that the Biovores were made up of orc DNA, and that's why they look like they did, where this is definitely a Tyranid creature now. The build is actually slightly different as well if you build the Pyrovore, so again you'll have a bit of variety if you've got a few in your army. I haven't got the previous Biovore, but I do have an old 2nd edition one, and again the new boy's quite a bit bigger than him. Equally, the Spore Mines are pretty nice too. So they've got some nice detailing to them, if the camera wants to focus on this. So yeah, really like that, with the kind of carapace bit on the top that you can colour in purple to match the, you know, Leviathan scheme if you want to. And again, they take, I mean, this is just contrast and then dry brushed for the initial steps for the skin, but they look pretty nice again. If we compare it to the size of the previous ones from the Harpy kit, similar size but more detail on this one. And again, if we look back at those old 2nd edition ones, it is quite a bit bigger. So that leaves one model, and it is the big one. Now I think early in the video I said I was going to build this as a Norn Simulator, and then I had a weekend watching all the Alien films and I had to build it as the Norn Emissary because I'm getting massive Alien Queen vibes off this one, and also from the ridges on the back of the, well, I guess power pack, isn't it? Getting Godzilla vibes from this. Don't know if anyone else sees that, but yeah, really nice big chunky model. Again, I managed to get this painted yet, and that is going to be priority once those other bits are done. Whoops. But yeah, really nice kit. Now a lot of people have been intrigued on how big this is. So if you take it compared to the Hive Tyrant, you see it is quite a bit bigger. Now I haven't got it to hand, it's similar size to Be'lakor and Angron. It's not quite knight sized, but it is a big imposing kit, and it's got some like heft to it as well, which is nice. The Norn Assimilator I think looks a little bit more spindly because I think the claws are slightly smaller, and it's got those injector harpoon things. Now from a rules point of view, Both of them, basically you can choose for it to go after a particular unit or a particular objective. If you nominate a unit at the start of the game, when you're fighting that unit with the Norn Emissary or Assimilator, you get to reroll hits and wounds, which is pretty cool. If you pick an objective, it gets Feel No Pain near that objective, and it counts as OC 15 rather than OC 5, which makes it really good at taking those objectives. From a rules point of view, this is Psychic. It's got a 4+ invulnerable save. It's got some pretty strong psychic shooting attacks, and they've all got a range of 18, but basically you've got a choice of one that's got precision hits, one that has got melter, and one that's got blast. So you've got a range of different weapons. I think it's strength 12 off the top of my head, with the melter one. You know, it's going to threaten some things, not heavily armoured things. In combat, I think off the top of my head it's strength 3, AP -3 damage, I want to say, with 6 attacks, and then it gets some additional attacks with its claws. Pretty cool. Now obviously that's not going to be able to rip open tanks and stuff, but like elite infantry and anything toughness 9 or under, it will rip through. Now the other build, the Norn Assimilator, doesn't have the psychic attacks, and it doesn't have the invulnerable save either, so that obviously may sway people's decision on it. What it does have, however, is those harpoon guns. So I think they're strength 12 off the top of my head, but if it hits a target with them, it adds 3 to its charge rolls. So really nice for getting this thing into combat with them. From a close combat point of view as well, it attacks with the same profile of the harpoons in combat. So it's got the same claws as the Norn Emissary here, with the 6 attacks at strength 9, but it also gets, I think, another 4 attacks at strength 12. So again, that one is probably a bit more punch to that one in a fight than this one, I'd say. This one is cheaper in points, and I just think it looks cooler, so that's why I've gone for it. From a keyword point of view, neither of them have any keywords that interact with the new detachments either, so you know, you don't have to worry about that. It hasn't got the, you know, the Vanguard or the Harvester keyword or anything that'll impact that. But yeah, really nice kit. So yeah, so let's all look at the new Tyranid models. Now, like I say, I have got a full write-up of the Tyranid Codex over on spruesandbrews.com. We go to quite some detail on all the different detachments, and I've got more pictures of the models and some size comparisons and stuff on there, so head over there if you want to check it out. And yeah, we're going to be planning on getting these painted up over the next few weeks. Hopefully get the Lictor strain stuff done in the next couple of nights, and then I really want to start working on this big beauty, because it is an amazing looking kit. Hopefully we'll be doing the live stream will be coming back soon, and I think on our first episode of that I'll probably be painting through the Tyranids, so stay tuned to the channel if you do want to watch that and join in on the chat and see what we're doing. If you have enjoyed this video, why not give it a like and give the channel a follow. We do lots of unboxings and reviews. Battle reports will be coming back soon as well, so if you do enjoy that, check that out. And if you would like to support the site, we do have an affiliate link to Element Games as well. If you use that, we get a bit of a kickback, which helps run the site and all the kind of the costs for putting these videos together. So yeah, until next time, have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.